In 1986, director Russell Mulcahy and screenwriters Gregory Wyden, Larry Ferguson, and Peter Bellwood got together for the high fantasy film Highlander, starring Christopher Lambert and Roxanne Hart. The movie is about Connor MacLeod, an immortal who has to fight other immortals to make sure the evil Kurgan does not win the prize given to the last surviving immortal. Despite being a commercial failure, the movie gathered a cult following, which inspired a sequel called Highlander 2: The Quickening. Let's dive into the craziness of the second movie today. But before we begin, make sure you've subscribed and turned on the notifications so that you never miss an entertaining update from us. The plot of Highlander 2: The Quickening was written by Brian Clemens, William N. Panzer, and Peter Bellwood. There are many plots of the film, as the theatrical version for the US is different from the theatrical cut for European countries. There was a renegade version as well. The US cut begins in the 1990s. The ozone layer of the Earth is severely depleted, leaving everyone on the planet to suffer from intense radiation. Connor MacLeod, who has recently witnessed the death of his beloved wife, decided to fund a project to create an electromagnetic shield to deter radiation. Dr. Alan Neyman, a gifted scientist, comes through and creates the shield, but it's not without any side effects. The planet is plunged into darkness where the climate is always humid and the temperature always high. Eventually, a company is created to look after the shield, called the Shield Corporation. Well, we all know what happens when businessmen are given the reins of any project. They try to profit off of it. This is what happens with the Shield Corporation as well, as it begins to put up heavy fees on countries for using the shield under the leadership of their greedy and corrupt CEO, David Blake. In 2024, Connor has aged and is approaching death soon. He remembers something that happened 500 years ago in Zeist, the home planet of the Immortals. Connor was chosen by the Zeist sorcerer Juan Sanchez Villalobos Ramirez to fight against General Katana, a corrupt leader. Ramirez and Connor created an unbreakable bond using the Quickening so that Connor can call out to him whenever he needs him. Even in death, Connor mounts a coup with other members of the Zeist. Unfortunately, Connor's rebellion is crushed easily by Katana, who exiles him to Earth, destined to fight each other till only one remains. The last survivor can choose to either remain on Earth or return to Zeist. We come back from the flashback to the current day, where Louise Marcus introduces herself to Connor. She is the leader of an anti-shield group that wants the shield to be taken down, as they believe that the ozone layer has healed itself, but the Shield Corporation wants the shield to remain to profit off of it. She asks for Connor's help to confront David Blake, but Connor says no, telling her that he is too old to do so. Meanwhile, General Katana sends two of his assassins to kill Connor. Connor easily defeats them and uses their quickening energy to gain back his youth. He resurrects Ramirez, who unites with Connor and Louise to take down the shield. Connor is influenced by Dr. Neyman, who shows him scientific evidence to prove that the shield is no longer needed. Growing impatient, Katana too arrives on Earth and forms an alliance with David. In the ensuing fight, Ramirez sacrifices himself to save Connor and Louise from a trap. Katana, deciding that David is of no help to him, kills the CEO. Connor's confrontation with Katana ends with Katana's decapitation. Using the quickening energy he absorbed from him, Connor destroys the shield and the world begins to witness the natural beauty of the sky once again. In the European cut, aptly titled The Fairy Tale Ending, Connor begins to levitate to return to Zeist, but Louise tells him that she wants to go with him. As they hug, they magically fly to Connor's home planet. Director Russell Mulcahy, who absolutely hated the theatrical cut, released a special director's cut known as the Renegade version, which completely removes the Planet Zeist storyline. Instead, flashbacks to Zeist are explained as a bygone time on Earth, a past that surprisingly had innovative technology. Just in case you weren't confused enough, he also changed the color of the shield from orange to blue. This plot obviously pissed off the fans of the franchise, as it changes the established mythos of the first film. The whole point of the first film was that there was going to be only one. There were no immortals, and Connor was to lead the rest of his life as a mortal. Writers Peter Bellwood and Larry Ferguson had brought this issue up with the producer William N. Panzer, stressing the fact that the movie ties up all ends and makes it impossible for a sequel. Panzer, who had no plans for a sequel at the time, insisted that the prize of The Quickening be mortality. His plans changed when foreign distributors and investors began to push for a sequel. Seeing their intense desire to watch another Highlander movie, Panzer agreed. But, sure to say, it came back to bite him. There is also an unreal genre shift. The first Highlander movie is about immortals. Plain and simple. They fight and the winner gets a prize. This movie defies that rule and says that they were not immortals, but aliens, shifting the genre from fantasy to dystopian science fiction. There is also no explanation given as to why Katana remembered Connor after 500 years. Perhaps he needed time to catch up on Grey's Anatomy. Nobody liked this plot, not even the producers. Peter Davis blames Panzer for the whole idea. Michael Ironside, who portrays Katana, admitted to hating the script as well, saying that it felt like a 13-year-old boy wrote it. He also said that he, like Sean Connery, who played Ramirez, and Christopher Lambert, who played Connor, was all in it for the money. Lambert almost quit after reading the script, but could not, as he'd already signed the contract. If you're wondering why there are so many different versions of the movie, there's an explanation for that too. Director Russell Mulcahy made the mistake of filming in Buenos Aires, Argentina, as he believed that it had the futuristic and apocalyptic style that he wanted to show in the movie. During their shoot, Argentina was going through a financial crisis, and the country's economy crashed, causing the local economy to experience hyperinflation. Though the budget of the movie was a modest $14 million, the fluctuating economy changed it to $34 million. So the insurance company of the movie was getting testy. They immediately needed a release, so they fired the editorial team completely and brought in their own editor and completely stopped the creative input of Mulcahy. Their editor had only one goal: to make a movie that pulls in a lot of money and saves as much money as possible. No attention was given to making sure that the Highlander franchise's original storyline was protected. Anthony Redman, the original editor of the film, commented that it was not the high point of his career. The film's visual effects supervisor called it riding a horse with a different rider, a confusing statement that somehow makes more sense than the entirety of the film. 15 minutes into the premiere of Highlander 2: The Quickening, Mulcahy walked out, wanting nothing to do with the film. And can you really blame him? He was really proud of the first film, and seeing the disaster of The Quickening on screen disheartened him a lot. He commented that the only rule in genre film is to not break the rules you create, which Highlander 2 invariably did. He also wanted to take his name off the film and tried to convince producers to change his credit to Alan Smithy, a pseudonym. Unfortunately, his contract forbade him from doing so, and he was also threatened with a lawsuit if he ever publicly attacked the film. This obviously did not deter Mulcahy from dragging down the movie whenever he got the chance to. But that's not the only thing that went wrong with the movie. There are two documentaries that cover the glorious mess of The Quickening: Highlander 2, To Be or Not to Be a Sequel, where the cast and crew is still pretty hopeful of the movie, and Highlander 2, Seduced by Argentina, which embraces the chaos behind the scenes. In the latter documentary, the producers mention how Ramirez was not in the original screenplay. On the insistence of the distributors, the producers decided to put Sir Sean Connery in a cameo, but they were not too happy with that and needed him back in a major role. They were very clear about their expectations: at least 20 minutes of Connery in the movie to maintain global standards, or they would walk. Christopher Lambert, too, had become besties with the James Bond actor and threatened to sever his contract if he did not return. Connery wasn't that interested in returning, but agreed to for a hefty sum. It took over $3 million to hire Connery, and he only shot for 6 to 9 days. Due to local filmmaking rules, Connery could only work 12 hours a day, and it was up to the crew to make the most of those 12 hours. To cut time from Connery's commute, which was a 2-hour drive, a helicopter was hired. Unfortunately, even after Sean Connery was hired, things did not ease up for the crew. A crane shot involving Connery was damaged due to a tiny scratch that appeared on the negative, and the entire scene had to be reshot. Though Connery was not much of a diva to Lambert and Mulcahy, who reportedly got along like a house on fire, he still had a pretty major rule: nobody was allowed to talk about James Bond. We don't know how strict of a rule this was, though, as Virginia Madsen, the actress who played Louise Marcus, hated this rule and ridiculed it, asking whether she was not allowed to talk to Lambert about Tarzan either. To test this rule out, she even wore a t-shirt that read Jane in the front and Moneypenny in the back when she first met Sean Connery, and exclaimed, "James Bond!" But Connery simply greeted and hugged her. The crew was so scared of working around a big shot like Sean Connery that one of the members allegedly called him his Seanness. Argentina also lacked a lot of filmmaking equipment that the American and British crew were used to. People refused to sell them many raw materials as well, as the fluctuating economy meant that they could get a higher price tomorrow. The crew had to face an additional DIY project because of this. The untrustworthy economy also meant that no one agreed to take a check, and the filmmakers had to prepare cash and security guards to make sure it wasn't robbed to pay the crew. The costume department helped save the budget by selling US dollar bills. Argentina was also fresh off the Falklands War against England. As many of the crew were from the United Kingdom, there was a palpable tension with the Argentinian crew members and the local community. Mulcahy remembered a food fight that began with the crew throwing bread at each other and ended with bottles being thrown. The crew did have their fun though, as the discotheques and nightclubs were entertaining, and they used to frequent them often with Christopher Lambert. Argentinian lifestyle encouraged day drinking and cocaine in the cast and crew. In Argentina, people used to drink at lunch, which slowed down production a lot. Stunt coordinator Frank Orsatti claimed that they aimed to get most of the work done by 1 p.m., as it was predictable that work slowed down from then on due to the 5 bottles of wine supplied at lunch. Lambert was often hungover due to his drinking. Ironside's stunt double binged on cocaine as it was so cheap in Argentina. This led to an embarrassing incident when Ironside knocked on his door and he answered the door naked and freaked out over the drug. The financial and time constraints stressed out the cast and crew, which eventually resulted in a lot of injuries. Ironside's stunt double broke his ankle and he had to perform his stunts himself. Lambert had bad eyesight and could not wear glasses during the filming. On top of that, he refused to use a fake sword. In a sword fighting scene, this culminated in Lambert almost cutting off Ironside's bone and dislocating his jaw. After this incident, he agreed to use a plastic sword. But that didn't stop the injuries. Lambert too suffered a nearly chopped off finger that required 12 stitches, and Ironside chipped one of his teeth. Another grave tragedy during the movie was the death of a technician who accidentally fell from a crane during filming. The original plot also wanted to include the Kurgan in the story and explained his origin as an assassin sent to Earth by General Katana. Clancy Brown was offered a role in the sequel, mostly because he too, like the rest of the audience, did not understand the point of the movie. He was only sent the first 20 pages of the film, and though he found Kurgan in those pages, being defeated by Connor McLeod one more time, he did not understand how he got there. He asked the production to give him more info, but they denied it. So he tried to go the Michael Ironside way and asked them to pay him a lot of money if they wanted him. When they said no to that too, he quietly washed his hands of the franchise. Is it any wonder that the movie flopped? The movie only grossed about $15 million at the box office, and the critics all ripped it apart. Roger Ebert dressed the movie down, calling it the most incomprehensible movie he had ever seen, and named it the worst movie of 1991. A true understatement, as it is very much in the running for the worst movie of the decade. The producers learned their lesson after the movie and vowed to make sure that the sequels that followed would obey the rules set by the first film. Fans even joked that the third movie in the series, Highlander: The Final Dimension, released in 1994, should have simply been called Highlander 3: An Apology. Marvelous verdict. There are some movies that have so much going on behind the scenes that the making deserves a movie of its own. Highlander 2: The Quickening definitely is in that list of movies. Fans to this day debate as to which cut of the movie is the best. What do you think? Do you like the European fairy tale ending that makes the movie more absurd, or the renegade cut that Russell Mulcahy authorized? Let us know in the comments below. We'll be back soon with more amazing content, but until then, like the video, stay happy, and take care. See you soon.